Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of ADHD Unedited. I am super excited to jump into today's topic. It's something that has come up so much over the last week and obviously over the last months and years of coaching fellow ADHDers. But here recently it's come up a lot, and that is kind of how I work these recordings, is what's come up in the last week. So it's all pretty relevant and fresh on my mind. So this week we are talking about the power of no as well as the power of yes. So yeah, it's a little bit of a spicy one, the saying no. For a lot of us, people pleasing, guilt, habit, all of those things come into play when we say yes. And for a lot of us, that is our default. Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not? So we want to look at saying yes with intention. Easier said than done, I know, but hang with me. So the thing, like the main, I don't know what the word is, a phrase that I keep coming up with this week that I've found myself repeating over and over to clients and kind of to myself is every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And that's just how time and energy works. It's not good or bad. It's pretty neutral for the most part. It just is, right? And for our ADHD brains, that is a really important distinction to make, taking kind of the morality out of our yeses and our nos. So, we want to look at not overcommitting on purpose, right? So we're doing things because we want to help. We want to be liked. So this is where our yeses can come from. Not all the time, obviously, like there are a lot of yeses that we mean with our whole body. Yes, that sounds great. I would love to do that. But it's those other yeses, like I said, we want to help. We want to be liked. We forget how long things actually take. And because in the moment, the new plan sounds exciting until it doesn't. So, I think we've all been in those situations where you say yes to something and immediately feel that in your gut, like, shit, I already know I'm not going to have the bandwidth to do this. I have been there. You have probably been there. I think most people have been there where you say yes because of all those reasons I listed, or some other ones that I have not listed. And it just sounds like a good idea until it comes out of your mouth. And then you're like, how do I backpedal? So for this week, I'm not asking you to start saying no, left and right. The boundary doesn't have to be super rigid and super like, no, I say no. But what I would invite you to do is start noticing. So the next time someone asks you for some time, some energy, some help, some presence, I want you to catch that moment and ask, what am I saying no to with this yes? And obviously, if someone catches you, hey, can you do that extra report for me? Hey, can you carpool this week with the kids, whatever it is? You don't have time to be like, hold on, let me think about this. What am I saying no to? Obviously. So what I kind of encourage a lot of us to do is, instead of the default being like, yeah, sure, no problem, the default goes to, I need to check my calendar. And if that doesn't vibe with you, I need to check my energy. I'm not really sure if I'm going to have the bandwidth for that kind of thing. But an easy default is, let me check my calendar and get back to you. Now, you got to remember to get back to them. So if that's kind of what you're saying, then hold up your end of the bargain. So maybe that looks like, telling your phone to set a reminder for a couple hours from now, or setting a reminder on your calendar for when you know that you'll be home. And really take a minute and look at, what does your week look like? What does your calendar look like? Actually, I do not have the space, energy, time, desire, bandwidth, capacity, whatever, to take on what this person is asking me. Or Actually, yeah, that's no problem. I would love to be able to do that to help you. And what I was saying about the boundaries are flexible. We want to have the 80-20 rule there. 80% of the time, we're really aligned with our yeses. They feel really good for our goals, our values, that kind of stuff. 20% of the time, and maybe 20% is a little bit much. Maybe this one's more of a 90-10 situation, but 10 to 20% of the time, we do have to be a little bit flexible. That friend really needs help moving. Nobody wants to help a friend move. Let's be honest. We do it because we want to support our friends. We know how badly it sucks. And so again, but sometimes you have to say no. Like, I'm so sorry. There's just no way I can pull that off this weekend. I love you so much. I'll cook you dinner, or, something to kind of make up for it. Other times we do have to be a little bit flexible in that boundary. But going back to the pause, when somebody's asking for your time, your energy, all of that kind of stuff. What am I saying no to with this yes? So, hey, you get an email. Can you stay after work tomorrow and take on XYZ? All right. People pleasing comes up. I really want this person to like me. It's my boss. I want to look really responsible and, the best worker ever and that kind of stuff. But that means I'm saying no to dinner with my partner, or happy hour with the girls, or Netflix and chill with Chinese takeout, any of those things. And that's totally okay. You can say yes to one, no to the other, no to one, yes to the other. It's totally fine. You can say yes to a night out and no to rest. That's okay. Or you can say, no, I'm not going to come out tonight. I really need to get some sleep. I've had a long week, whatever. Again, there's no morality tied to your yeses and your nos. I just want to encourage you to be more in charge of your yeses and your nos and taking them on by choice, because this is what you actually want to do, versus obligation, people pleasing, pushing yourself into burnout territory, that kind of stuff. And a side note here, FOMO is very real, especially for ADHDers. Am I going to miss out on something? Ooh, that sounds fun. That sounds great. I probably should stay home and have an early bedtime, go to bed at, whatever, XYZ, whatever time is your chosen time. But I also really want to go out with friends, or I really want to go see that movie, see that play, do the thing, you name it, whatever it is. That's totally okay as well. You're allowed to make those choices. You're allowed to say, I probably do need an early night in, but gosh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I want to go dancing, whatever it may be. Totally okay. But again, you've looked at the whole situation. You've made a decision. Actually, I'm going to bypass the early bedtime and I'm going to go and have a good time. That was your decision versus your default, right? So what am I saying no to with this yes? Is this aligned with what I actually care about this week? That one can get tricky. Again, you can make the decision. There's no good or bad, but it might impact. In fact, it will impact. One way or another, it will impact your week. So just keep that in mind. Do I even have the capacity for this? Have I been burning the candle at both ends and I can feel the burnout coming on? I really need to say no to taking on this extra work or helping the friend or whatever the case may be. And then can I give myself 24 hours to decide? Sometimes you can and sometimes you cannot. Good times. But like I said, the let me check my calendar and get back to you is a great way to go. You just have to remember to actually get back to them and say, yep, that sounds good. I can definitely do that. Or, hey, I can do that, but I can only stay for an hour. Or actually, I don't have the bandwidth. I cannot do that. I'm so sorry. Have so much fun. Love you. Right. So there's also an idea behind this with your micro habits and building a little bit of momentum around paying attention to your yeses and your nos. So have a priority list. And we talked about this briefly with the values. So what are your values? Write them down, put them somewhere you can see them. Maybe put them on the background of your phone for a little bit when you're trying to kind of pay more attention to these things. Sometimes we have to do stuff like that to really cue our brains of, oh yeah, I'm trying to look at my values more when it comes to my yeses and my nos. So I'm going to put it somewhere really visible, not forever, but just in the interim as I'm kind of getting used to this new habit. So in that same vein, maybe do a Post-it with your top 3 priorities for the week and glance at it before you say yes to anything. Again, that can be the background of your phone to be like, ooh, sleep is a priority this week. That probably means that happy hour that usually goes until midnight is not a great idea, or, whatever it is. So the default delay, like I said earlier, I'll get back to you tomorrow, the new go-to. Let me check my calendar, the new default, the new go-to. Gentle no's when the bar is set pretty low for that. It's not a huge risk factor to say no when you can just say, I'm so sorry, that's just not going to work for me this week. It's short, it's kind, it's clear. I did not put this in the email, but it's something that has come up as well, as far as, and there's a quote behind this that I'm not going to get right, but people pleasing and saying yes all the time is also a form of emotional unavailability. Because what happens is people can't trust when you say yes, that you're actually like, yep, that really does genuinely work for me, authentic yes. People are like, oh, I know she's going to say yes, or he's going to say yes because he always does, but is that kind of putting him out? I feel a little bit guilty. Whereas if you'll say no in situations of like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, there's just no way I can pull that off, people know that they can trust your yeses and they can trust your nos. And it starts to build self-trust within yourself, so that you can really count on yourself to show up for your boundaries, to know what they are, to honor your energy and your capacity, that kind of thing. So, we'll kind of circle back to saying yes to a late night instead of an early bedtime. It's 100% allowed. You're an adult. You get to choose. But the key is actually choosing, not defaulting, not people pleasing, not impulse yesing, and then dealing with the consequences later. Just noticing, pausing, and taking back control. Be in the driver's seat. Take the wheel, right? Take the wheel yourself. So your action step for this week. Start a yes and no audit, which sounds like, oh my God, I don't know. One more thing that I have to do. But again, we don't have to do this forever. This is just paying attention to every time you say yes or no to something, kind of jot it down. And this will be a little bit exhausting. You'll be okay. I promise it'll be fine. It's a pain in the ass. But just so at the end of the week, you can take a look and say, are there any patterns that I kind of see here? Most of the shit on this list, I did not want to say yes to. I just didn't know how to say no. I wanted to, kind of people please. I wanted them to like me. I wanted them to think I was a good coworker, a good, co-parent, a good whatever it is. So look at your patterns. What feels good? What feels in alignment? What needs a tweak? And then, just as a little side note, if you want to go a little bit deeper, there's a plane outside. Squirrel. Okay. My ADHD Academy group programs kick off in July. So I have a women's group and a men's group. The men's group is brand new, so it's going to be offered at beta pricing. The women's group is tried and true. It's been around for a while, so that is at regular pricing. But if either of those groups sound like a good idea to you, it is a great place for community, connection. You get to learn from other ADHDers and share in their lived experience versus just mine. It's always a really, really great, encouraging, positive, holy shit, aha moment space that I would love, love, love to have you join. So if that is something that strikes your fancy, please reach out. You can find me on Instagram at adhd.coach.leah. You can head over to my website, leahccoaching.com, and there's ways to work with me. Schedule a free call or just go ahead and jump in the group. All right, so you got this. All is well. Look at your yeses, look at your nos. What are you saying no to by saying yes to something else? Does that align with you? Does that feel good for you? And as always, momentum over motivation. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.